Tonight, St. Lucia records its 9th COVID-19 related death and 5 new COVID cases. The CCC announces new market rules, and the Vendors Association is not at all pleased, and the Catholic Church speaks following new COVID-19 protocols by the government.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovely St. Amy Joseph.
Good evening. It is Thursday, the 21st of January, 2021. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. I'm Nisha Charles, standing in for Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for tuning in. Today, Thursday, the 21st of January, the Ministry of Health received confirmation of St. Lucia's 9th COVID-19 related death. The individual is a 71-year-old female who was in care at the Victoria Hospital. She had been diagnosed with an underlying medical condition prior to her passing on January 17, 2021. Also, the Ministry of Health, late Wednesday, January 20, 2021, received confirmation of 5 new cases of COVID-19 from a batch of 168 COVID-19 tests conducted at the Ezra Long Laboratory. The Ministry of Health also reports the recovery of 10 cases of COVID-19. Currently, there are 353 active cases in care, with one of them requiring critical care, and the others are all stable. This brings the total number of cases diagnosed in country to date to 718. All cases are nationals who range in age from 23 years to 71 years. 2 cases are from the Castries district and the 3 from the Grosley district. They were seen at a community-based respiratory clinic where they were assessed and tested for COVID-19. Members of the contact tracing team are undertaking the necessary investigations as it relates to identifying the contacts of these confirmed cases. And in a bid to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 and protect the health of the public, tenants and vendors, the CCC has announced new market rules to take effect Friday, January 22nd to Monday, February 1, 2021. There will be no produce vending allowed outside the market. A system of market vendor rotation will be implemented. Farmers vending from their vehicles will be accommodated at the old fire station site. Social distancing and sanitizing protocols will be enforced. The Saturday flea market will be suspended until further notice, and vending of produce will not be allowed on Sundays on Jeremy Street. Meanwhile, the president of the Vendors Association is reacting to the announcements, in particular the rotation system. He says the manner in which the announcement was sprung on vendors was disrespectful and believes that had the CCC heeded his earlier advice, such a fiasco could have been avoided.
On Wednesday, the government of St. Lucia announced that market vendors should begin operating on a rotation basis so as to limit the number of individuals in the market at any one point. The news was relayed to vendors on Wednesday morning by the vendor coordinator of the Castries City Council. The majority of the vendors at the market on Wednesday morning did not take the news lightly and made no qualms about expressing their dissatisfaction. The president of the Vendors Association, Peter Rasaipa Isaac, told Hot 7 that vendors were well within their rights to react the way they did. He says the announcement and the way it was made was ludicrous and distasteful.
Everything they want to do, they want to make sure they bypass the Vendors Association. We have had, they said that they would have some meetings with me to deal with the market, the craft market and the Vendors Arcade, and they took my number and they met me and told me they will call me and all kind of thing. And up to now, this meeting can't happen. They said that the manager was out, she was on vacation, and when she come from the vacation, we would have that meeting. She has come to vacation, she has gone back out into vacation again, and she's back in again. And up to now, this meeting has not been set as to what date or where. So apparently, they don't want to talk to us, the legitimate organization that actually represent vendors. But they want to go down and do as they always does, is to deal with the vendors as if to say they are nobody else, they are nobody, they have no respect for them, and they will deal with them as they please. So they will just come and just set up things and say, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. Talk down at the vendors in a very dictatorial kind of manner.
He says the decision makers need to go back to the drawing board with this decision. Isaac says a lot more consultation needed to take place for this decision to be embraced.
Just thinking about people who are selling perishable goods, and you're going to try to devise some rotation for them. First of all, I wonder if you start to think about trying to find a way to compensate them for goods that will perish, that will be spoiled goods, and so on and so forth. That's one of the things. The other way is, how are you going to divide that into subsections, as to say who's going to be there on a Saturday, who's going to be there on a Friday, and a Monday or Tuesday or whatever. I think this thing must be thought out a little more carefully. I think they needed to have discussions with the vendors, and I suspect something like that would not really take one consultation, but several of them.
Isaac says on many occasions the association made calls for better protocols to be established at the provisions market. However, they fell on deaf ears. He says the current reaction is simply a consequence of not engaging stakeholders.
To do things just haphazardly, and especially with vendors, as if to say they are nobody, so we could make decisions in our little corners, in our little space, and then just come and throw it out on them. And I'm saying that this is wrong. This is not right. In that area, when they first opened the place, there was a situation where I said that you must put the protocol in place. Maybe if that had happened in the time, in the beginning, they would not have to face this kind of situation now, because there is a spike in the coronavirus in St. Lucia. You understand what I'm saying? So what I think is that they should do now is to look at the market itself. There are a number of empty stalls in there. Try to find a way to take out the empty ones and create some kind of space between, so that they could create the distance they want.
He says vendors need to be treated better, and the policymakers need to ensure that they take into consideration the livelihoods that will be affected by the decisions being implemented. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzaga.
And stay with us. Still to come, the Deputy Commissioner calls out what he says has been reckless behavior on the part of some. A former independent senator weighs in on the saving lives versus saving livelihoods comments from the Prime Minister. And Dr. James Fletcher reacts to U.S. President Joe Biden returning the U.S. to the Climate Paris Agreement.